Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live Thor Love and Thunder official trailer breakdown, discussion, however you want to call it. One of those things where we look on the trailer, look at every shot, and just break down what it all means, what it all may mean, little Easter eggs, little hints at what's to come. And you guys know I usually don't watch second trailers for movies, particularly when it is these big Marvel movies, which I'm always so excited to check out. Usually never watch second trailers. Doctor Strange, I did because I already knew a ton of the things that are going to happen in this film. Why did I watch this Thor Love and Thunder second trailer? Well, because I wanted to see Gore the God Butcher. For those who don't know, the Thor God of Thunder run by Jason Aaron, which is at least one of the runs that is heavily inspiring this film, is my personal favorite Thor run of all time. And I knew that they would show Gore the God Butcher in a second trailer, and I knew that eventually I would stumble upon the look of Gore the God Butcher on Twitter. And so I just rather see Gore the God Butcher in the trailer itself rather than someone who screenshots it on Twitter. So I decided to see the trailer. Very happy with it. It's a really, really good trailer, and we're going to talk about it all. Thank you, first of all, for Demonesian Scott and Eric Thorpe Reviews, good friends of the channel, for being here. Thank you guys so much. We're not going to be here for a whole lot. We're going to be here for an hour 20 minutes, something like that. Is Gorr in the Jane Foster Thor comic arc? No, he is not. Apparently, because I'm behind on like current runs, apparently he's come back in the King Thor run, which is also being done by Jason Aaron. That is semi-recently, but I'm behind on little runs. But no, Gorr is not present in that story until, from what I understood, because I just found out, from what I understood, between Thor God of Thunder, God of Thunder, and King Thor runs, Gorr was just in those two. So he's not in the Mighty Thor run, as far as I know, as far as I'm aware. Maybe Jane Foster is in the King Thor run and she crosses paths with Gorr, but apart from that, I don't think they ever met one another. But obviously, since you bring it up, the other run that is heavily inspiring in this film is that Jane Foster Mighty Thor run, also by Jason Aaron. By the way, if you ever want to get into comics, if you ever want to get into Thor specifically, those are the runs you should get into. I'm not the biggest fan of the Mighty Thor run, but Jason Aaron, for years, he has been working on Thor for years at this point. Like, normal than any author in a comic book is usually attached. He has redefined Thor for who he was. He has given a new definition to what it means to be Thor, to what the Thor stories are. So we're going to be here for about 1 more minute to allow more people to come in. I might have a guest come in. It might not be at the 5-minute mark or anything. But yeah, this trailer was really solid. I will tell you guys my overall thoughts before we get into the breakdown portion of this video. And you guys know, I wasn't the biggest fan of Ragnarok. Ragnarok was a disappointment for me. I adore the first Thor film. I'm along the lines of most people when it comes to the Dark World. I don't hate it as much. I don't think it's atrocious, but it's very much bottom of the MCU for me. Ragnarok is one I'm conflicted on because I felt like it had great ideas, and then when it showed potential for some dramatic heft, there was a pun or a joke just undercutting it all, taking the effect away. And so I wasn't very excited when they announced that Taika Waititi would come back, but eventually, in the meantime, I saw Jojo Rabbit. I saw that this guy can give us great drama and great comedy, balance it all in a very refined way that makes it all work. There's a time for both of these things in a film, I feel. And while Ragnarok didn't do a good job to me in balancing it out, this one feels like it's doing that. It's bringing all the things that worked in Ragnarok back with the visuals, the aesthetics. The jokes themselves in isolation were good, but now there's a purpose to them. Korg in Ragnarok, he was just funny. He was just there. But now, like, he's an emissary to Thor. He tells the legends of Thor, the God of Thunder, and all that. And then we got all the epic stuff and the interpersonal journey of Thor throughout this film. And Taika Waititi is writing it. He also wrote Jojo Rabbit. Again, that refining of the balance of comedy and drama. So I cannot wait to watch this. So we're at the 5-minute mark. Let's just start watching this trailer. By the way, I can't have any sound. Maybe I'll even be blocked by having the images, but I can't have any sound as we break through this. So let's do it. And so the first shot right away is the shot that we saw in the previous trailer where Thor is meditating. But we start now hearing narration not from Thor like we did in the teaser trailer, but now it's from Korg. And we see that Korg is telling this story to these little alien kids about the legend of Thor, the God of Thunder. Now, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, oh, he's talking about Thor in the past tense. Is Thor going to die? This is how the film begins. I think I think it's pretty obvious that this is how the film begins, because these kids are also clearly from the same race that these aliens right here in this shot are when Thor is battling with the Guardians of the Galaxy across the galaxy. And so it's clear that this is the beginning of the film. This is Korg catching us up, the audience, to what Thor has been doing in between Endgame and now, traveling with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love this shot, by the way, of him summoning the thunder with Stormbreaker. And I love that if you put the sound on, they're incorporating Sweet Child of Mine into the score. It's more of an orchestral composition, not the actual song itself. And so we get him dressing up. We get a little glimpse of Asgard back on Earth. This shot right here, when he takes his Thunder Strike 80s clothes out and turns back into Thor, there's clearly someone hiding right here. The cursor is there. Okay, you can see the cursor. There's clearly, does it? No, okay. There's clearly someone hiding right here. Like in the previous shot, there was someone hiding when him and Korg were looking up. Three hypotheses. One, I uploaded a video when the teaser trailer came out talking about, like, okay, there's someone clearly hiding in that shot. My hypothesis was Beta Ray Bill. I think they're hiding Beta Ray Bill in here. I'm not fully convinced. I wouldn't say it's like a 50% chance. Like, I would go 25. There's a good enough chance that the Beta Ray Bill is in this movie and it is in this trailer right here. Another character that is possible that's there in this trailer is Lady Siff. My one question, if it is Lady Siff, is number one. It's not one question. I actually have two questions. One of them is brought up by my good friend Dave Lee down under. One of them is, what is she doing in Sakaar? That's a question we have. And here is the goat boat. I hadn't noticed this one until now, but the goat boat is here in Sakaar. This is probably after they say goodbye to the Guardians. Something happens, the goat boat comes in, and they go back to Asgard. And probably that shot that we saw a little bit ago of the goat boat coming into Asgard on Earth, that's probably Thor arriving. That could be Thor arriving. It's not probably. So I don't know if it's Lady Siff, because what is she doing in Sakaar? But number two, would they hide Lady Siff? I know she wasn't in Ragnarok. I know it's been a while since we've seen her, since, well, 2013, 9 years ago. Like, last time we saw Lady Siff was 9 years ago in the second Thor movie. But I just don't feel that she's a character they would hide away. So that's the second possible character that is hiding in this trailer. I don't know if they would hide it. Another character I think it's possible, now that we see the goat boat is here, now that Thor has a motivation to go back to Asgard, could it be Valkyrie? I think it's possible. I think, if anything, it's more likely than Lady Siff. But the question still stands. Would they hide Valkyrie? Why would they hide Valkyrie? So I still think it's Beta Ray Bill, or at the very least it's some new character that we haven't met. Not even saying it's possibly an important character. It's just a character that's going to be here and say, hey, I'm from Asgard. I need to take you back to King Valkyrie and blah, blah, blah. So it could be just someone we have never met. But clearly, point is, someone is hiding in this shot. Someone is hiding right here because that's a lot of that space. So we see a little bit more of the training montage. He went from dad bod to god bod. I love that he's pulling on the Benatar. Like sometimes you see strong men training and pulling like carriages from trains or cars, even motorcycles. There's even been competitions where they're pulling on planes. And now he's pulling on a Benatar that's not tracked, that's not parked or anything. It's in full flight, creating some resistance for him, which Thor would need. And then we see a battle here. And I feel now, with the context that we get, that Thor puts on this costume in Sakaar with the goat boat there, suggesting that he's being taken to Asgard. I think this village is in Asgard, on Earth. Like, one of my theories in the original trailer was that this moment when we see it at the very end with the Jane Foster Thor reveal, which in this one we see much earlier on, was that, so in the God of Thunder stories, and I don't want to spoil too much of the God of Thunder story because I'm going to be reviewing that comic, but also I want you guys to take a read at that run. So I thought this would probably maybe be in the past. We could go back to the past and see Thor's younger battles with him fighting, even though that wouldn't make too much sense because we do see him at points with Stormbreaker in this. So right now, I think this is a village in New Asgard on Earth as Thor is taken back after visiting Sakaar. And this is where he sees Mjolnir. He's all happy. He still sees the cracks there. And Mjolnir doesn't go to him, goes to Jane Foster Thor and the old ex-girlfriend. I have no idea. Now, this confuses me because we see Thor in his with the fur on his shoulders, with the Viking-like costume, and then we see Jane Foster Thor. She comes back, suggesting this village is in New Asgard, and it looks like they're fighting berserkers, which are these creatures that Gore the God Butcher in the comics creates with the Necro Sword and all that. But now Thor suddenly has this new costume in what seems to be the same location, in what seems like he's meeting Jane for the first time, but just a few seconds ago, completely different costume. So I'm not sure what's happening here. I will say I fucking love this costume. The gold and blue, man. Look, as you guys can see, okay, you can't see it right now. Hang on. As you guys can see, like, I love Power Rangers, right? I love Power Rangers. This is going somewhere, I swear. So, in Power Rangers, lately, the Gold Ranger always has the gold color as its main color, but then blue accents in the sleeves or something. And I always prefer if it's gold and black. I just think it's a very cool mix of colors. It's more impactful. It looks better. But for the first time, the gold and blue looks fantastic. I think this costume is fabulous. And just imagine how that hot toy is going to look. And I usually don't talk about hot toys, but I just got a hot toy. So that's why it came to mind. And I'm probably going to be tempted to buy this one because I don't have a Thor hot toy. But actually, my favorite Thor costume is the one from the Dark World. In popular opinion, but that's still my favorite Thor costume. All right, let's continue. So, confused about this part because Thor's wearing one costume, meets Jane, and then still looks like he's shocked at seeing Jane, but he's in a completely different costume. It makes me excited. The not knowing makes me excited. I think it's incredible. That's the most exciting part about going into these films, is all this theorizing. Obviously, let's not let speculation become expectation, but I just love coming here, talking to you guys, looking at these trailers and like, what is going on here? Because they're leaving a big gap in between these two moments, clearly. But let's continue. So he meets Jane. We got the logo and all that, very 80s. This shot is great. I think this is the first time we, the audience, are going to see Jane Foster Thor. It's her getting the powers. And I love this little banter here where she barely remembers how much it's been, and he remembers exactly how long it's been. And I gotta tell you guys, when I was watching this trailer for the first time, as soon as she said, "What's it been, like 3-4 years?" I'm like, "No, it's been much longer than that. What are you doing? You're going to create a massive plot hole." And then Thor immediately corrects it, like 8 years, 7 months, 6 days, I believe that's what he says. Like, that's on point. That's really good misdirect for a moment, and it makes so much sense for the character. And then we see them going to Olympus. We see Valkyrie with him. You guys remember when the teaser trailer came out, I said that the wide shot in Olympus, and I think it's just before this. Yeah, this wide shot. I theorized that this wide shot right here, and I just realized that on full screen you guys can see me. I thought this person could have been Valkyrie, and now we have the confirmation that it is Valkyrie. It's Thor, Jane Foster, Korg, and Valkyrie on Olympus. So at one point or another, Thor's going to go back to Asgard. They're going to get their mission. They're going to learn about Gore the God Butcher, probably with those berserkers, and they're going to set out to save gods. And Valkyrie is going to go with them as she's very bored of bureaucratic work. So here we see probably as our heroes go off on this adventure to find Gore the God Butcher, to stop Gore the God Butcher. Here's the thing. So we just talked about how there's a big gap where Thor meets Jane Foster. He's wearing his Viking outfit, and then suddenly he's wearing this gold blue metal outfit. Now, if this scene, if I'm correct, and the scene is when our heroes set off on this journey, if this is going into the second act, a lot of people theorize that the blue and gold armor would be a gift from Olympus, from Zeus. Thor already has this armor on. And it doesn't seem like he has been to Olympus yet. In fact, let's just look back real quick on the shot where we see where I think this is them first arriving in Olympus, and Thor already has this armor on. I don't think at this point they've met with Zeus. I don't think at this point they've talked with Zeus. But Thor already has the gold and blue armor on, which is interesting. So I don't think it is going to be created by Zeus. I don't think it's going to be given to Thor by Zeus. So interesting when he gets this armor, how he gets this armor, why he gets this armor. Is it just there waiting for him? It's interesting because it feels like from when he's in Sakaar and puts on the first fur on the shoulders of Viking-style armor, and then to this, doesn't seem like a lot of time is going to pass between these two moments. So I don't know, but this shot looks great. I love this, man. This as well. This is incredible. And okay, now I've noticed Valkyrie is in Sakaar with Thor. Clearly here it's Valkyrie. She's in Sakaar. So I think we found who is in that shot, hiding in that shot. Again, I don't know why they would hide Valkyrie. I don't know why they would hide this character that we know. We know she's going to be in the movie. She's the one who's going to get Thor from Sakaar. I'm guessing, like, at one point, clearly she's in Sakaar, unless this is massive misdirect, unless this is a level of misdirect that we haven't seen since the trailer for Infinity War. But now it seems to be confirmed that Valkyrie is the one in Sakaar. And then, my friends, here we are. Gore the God Butcher. So it's interesting that he's in this, what looks like to be a space rock, a meteorite of some kind. So in the comics, Gorr is from a species of beings that believe in the gods. But they're from this very desolated planet. They barely have food. They barely have water. Every day is survival for these characters. In the comics, I'm just talking about the comic. But at one point, his planet is destroyed. His wife, his children, his entire species is destroyed. He's the only one who survives. And that's when he decides, oh, the gods didn't help me and they're real. I'm going to butcher them all. I think this is one of two things. I think this is Gorr's planet destroyed, but here you can also see what looks like to be some sort of cage. So I think Gorr is going to be imprisoned here by gods of some kind. And by unleashing, by being set free, somehow, some way, that's when he starts wreaking upon vengeance on his enemies, on the gods. But that's what I think we're seeing here. I think this could be his planet destroyed, like what's left of this planet. And that looks to be like a cage of some kind. It could probably be where he sleeps before he finds a way off this hunk of rock that used to be his planet. And that's when he finds the Necro Sword. Now, we've seen a lot of theories that they're not going to call it the Necro Sword or anything. Like, I don't know. I'm just talking about from my knowledge in the comics, from official information that we do have. For all I know, this is the Necro Sword. And it looks so great. This shot, the first time we see him, is so fucking creepy. Like, I've been talking a lot with friends throughout the day. Let's say, you guys know how much I love the MCU, but let's face it, the MCU has done some good job in picking up steam lately with great villains. You got Loki. That was one of the earliest good ones. You got Loki. You got Thanos. You got Scarlet Witch now. You got Killmonger. You got Vulture. Mysterio. Anyone else that I'm forgetting? I don't think there's anyone else that I'm forgetting. Yeah, like, still, not even two hands you count the great MCU villain. Well, forget about it. I was blanking on a big one, guys. I was blanking on one that I love. That is Wenwu from Shang-Chi. But still, just 7. Not even 2 full hands of great villains. With Christian Bale taking on the role, and we know he's very picky about the roles he takes on, plus the source material that they have at their disposal, this could be a top 4 villains in the MCU. This is Gore the God Butcher. He looks terrifying. He looks like he's going to be extremely compelling. He's kind of like dressed like a space monk, which would be a very interesting change. Like, again, between Sakaar and when Thor finds Falangard the Behemoth befell by Gore the God Butcher, he has to change that armor. So again, really don't know what's going on between the Sakaar sequence and Asgard. And then we see him at his most normal. I think the line that we overhear when we see this shot, which says, "All gods must die," I think this is not from this shot. Because this is clearly Gore the God Butcher when he was a normal person, alien. And I think he looks great. Looks very much normal. And then you compare to this shot of him, where I think this is when he's finding the Necrosword, because you got all these, what looks like to be vines moving around. This is going to be a crazy theory. Just came to my mind, so I just want to ask your thoughts on it. It's going to be a crazy theory. Because we don't even know where he's finding this. It's probably not Earth. So let's just assume for this specific theory, which is very out there. Again, I don't think this is going to be it. I'm giving this theory that I'm suggesting like 5% chance that it happens. But what if this is on Earth? And this is the Venom goo that was left behind in Spider-Man No Way Home. And this is how he finds the Necro Sword, if it is that. Could be, but again, it's not likely at all. I think this has a 5% chance, but it's not impossible. So I just want to put it out there and see what you guys think. So I think this is, like, early on, I think this is the flashback that we get of Gore the God Butcher before he was the God Butcher, with his wife, with his children, in his what looks like to be a very lively planet full with vegetation. It looks like those are rocks behind there and some water flowing, maybe here, a small waterfall. It looks like a very healthy, prosperous planet. So that would be interesting to see it decay and become that hunk of rock, if that is what is happening there. We have Thor looking worried about his friend Falangard the Behemoth. This is interesting. It looks like Thor is putting on Stormbreaker to give some charge to the goat boat. It's just a really cool visual. It arriving on Olympus and them crossing the Rainbow Bridge, which is now it's an ethereal thing. It's not so much something that you can touch or anything. It's not a physical bridge, but they're traveling through space and all that. And Thor's just giddy to see his ex again, and he's genuinely happy to see her kick ass. We get a little glimpse of that here with Jane Foster in Olympus. And I want to check something out here. So let's take a look back here. They're saying goodbye. Again, arriving on Olympus. And we have this moment of Jane kicking ass. Okay, and here we have Thor and Valkyrie. Okay, so I think this is before that stinger at the end happens, because from the pic, I didn't see it in the trailer, but from the pictures, let me see if I can bring it up. No, not recent. Give me 1 second, guys. I apologize. Okay, let me see if I can bring this up. I have to share. Nope, I didn't want to stop that. Never mind. I'll bring the video back up in a second. So this picture that was shared a few weeks ago, not years, Jesus. You have Valkyrie and Jane. This is clearly from the final scene in the trailer, right? Where they're asking one another if they want grapes. Here are the grapes. And it looks like Valkyrie is wearing shackles. Looks like they're strapped onto these seats. They can't get up. So it looks like that is going to be after this moment where we have Valkyrie and Jane and Thor kicking ass, because I can't quite see it, and I'm afraid of playing it because we're probably going to miss this this shot, but it looks like Thor might already be in chains. And before he's questioned and all that by Zeus, played by Russell Crowe, we now heard him speak, we now saw his face. Looks like Valkyrie and Jane Foster are going to try to get Thor out of there. But no, doesn't look like Thor is in chains after all, because it looks like he's swinging for something. I don't know what he's swinging with. It doesn't. Okay, it looks like he has a generic sword in his hands. Okay, he definitely does not have Stormbreaker, but I'm not sure what he has in his hands. It's probably just a sword he took from one of the Olympian soldiers. But Jane Foster kicks ass and all that. I love seeing her walking here. How great does this look? Jesus Christ. And Gore the God Butcher. I think this is when he first touches the Necro Sword first. See it taking possession of him with the demonic yellow eyes, the black blood pouring out of his mouth. I think this is going to be their way of getting away with a lot of blood, is painting it black. And then we see him just demolishing a planet like that. I think this film is going to start with that narration from Korg and all that. We're going to see Thor with the Guardians and all that. And then we're going to cut to Gore the God Butcher. And that's where we're going to see his past. We're going to see his origin, his story, what happened to him taking on the Necrosword. Maybe we're going to see here that planet just demolishing with him just plunging the Necrosword into one piece of ground just to establish how powerful he is. Because this isn't just another villain on a rampage. This isn't even just Wanda going out there happening to stumble across very powerful characters in the Illuminati and killing them and slaughtering them, really. This is a guy who's going after gods. And I think that's a great premise, because it doesn't take anything to explain it. Like, all you need to explain it to a general audience is just a line, all the gods must die. There is an inherent understanding in us all of how powerful a god is or can be. So You don't need to explain, like, you don't need the flashback to the Illuminati killing Thanos to establish how powerful they are. You don't need to have seen the X-Men movies or Fantastic Four or have any knowledge of the comics to understand how powerful these characters in gods are. From the moment you describe anyone or anything as a god, there's inherently an understanding of, okay, the power level is up there. So I think that's a great premise. You don't need to waste a lot of time on it. By the way, can we just talk about Chris Hemsworth's biceps and triceps? Holy fucking shit. But yeah, I love this. This looks fantastic. And there's this awkward moment that maybe won't be in the film, but here it is, where Thor says, "Never forget your first." And there's a really nice quirky charm to that. It's enough awkward but super likable when you want to get along with your ex-girlfriend when things didn't finish off well, but they still respect each other. They still clearly care for each other. I think that's really nice. And so here we have the shot of Zeus, and I love this. I think this is our final battle. We are seeing glimpses of the final battle here, and we have Thor, but everything around him is in black and white. And I think this is the Necroverse. Again, I'm behind on the recent runs, but there's something that Gorr has in the King Thor run that's called the Necroverse, which is a dimension all to his own. I'm assuming it's probably within those vines that he was stepping into when he found the Necro Sword. But yeah, we see everything around him is black and white, and I love this moment power up when Thor unleashes the lightning. Very, very stark difference from the rest of the film because it's also colorful, so bright, and then we have this somber visage of Thor as the only thing in the shot that is in color. And even here, we have Valkyrie and the weapon she is using in color, which looks like to be one of the lightnings from Zeus, his lightning staff. And Gorr is also in black and white. Do you guys think Valkyrie could die? Do you guys think we may see Valkyrie die? I don't think so. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I also wouldn't bet on it. Like, I wouldn't say it's 35% possible. I would give it a 15 at best. So I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's likely, but yeah, it's not impossible, but it's also not likely. I love this moment, man. Hang on. Boom. Come on. Let me see that moment, trailer. No. There we go. Yeah, clearly it's one of Zeus's lightning that she is wielding against Gore the God Butcher, and I think he's gonna kick her ass. That's because we need him. Yes, we need him to kill a lot of gods because we understand how powerful gods are. But I think we actually need to see him face off. Obviously, I'm not saying kill Valkyrie, but we need to see him kick ass against the character that we know and like. Yeah, and then we see them crashing into Olympus, which is probably what creates that whole fight between Thor and Valkyrie and Jane Foster against the Olympian guards and all that. And then, okay, so Thor probably back then in the other shot, he wasn't wielding a sword from one of them. He was probably wielding these lightning whips or thunder whips or whatever. And again, we have to face the question of, why is Thor changing costumes so much? Because he has the fur on the shoulders, Viking style outfit. He has the gold and blue armor. Obviously, he has this thunder strike vest and jeans, but we know exactly when that's going to be on screen. We even see when that stops being the thing that he wears. But then between being on the goat boat with the gold and blue armor, and then he has this blue toga. It's interesting. Again, it raises a lot of questions, like what happens in between those two moments. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening here. I think it could be when Gorr first touches the Necrosword and it starts taking possession of him. It starts corrupting him. It hurts. Not going to be easy and all that. but it's interesting. It shows, it's important, I think, because throughout this whole thing, we see Gorr as this very frightening, terrifying being that is incredibly powerful. Like just that moment of him plunging his sword into the planet and the planet just crumbling and being made into dust. But here we see some vulnerability. I don't think this is like Thor plunging his sword through him and killing him. I hope they didn't just show us that in the trailer. But it does show us a vulnerability that is not present in the other shots. Even with the yellow demonic eyes, I think it's a really interesting shot. Then we go a little bit back to the beginning with not Gamora. Gamora is not in this movie because she is somewhere in the galaxy, but the Guardians are looking for her. We have Nebula and Drax, and then we have what could be like the preparation for the final stage of the final battle, where we see Thor and Jane Foster holding hands, or at least holding pinkies, where we hear God the God Butcher say, "You're not like the other gods I've killed." And Thor says, "I got something to fight for." And maybe we see the reconciliation between these two, one of the MCU power couples coming back together. And they're clearly in this all black and white dimension where they don't even have color. So I think this is at a stage where Gore the God Butcher is clearly winning them over. He's clearly outperforming them in this final battle. Like victory is within his grasp, I think. And so it's a really cool shot. This is my favorite shot of the entire trailer. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know who he's pointing at. I don't know why he's pointing at who he's pointing at. This is my favorite shot in the trailer. Of all the other cool shots, of all the other cool Gore the God Butcher shots, this is the shot of the trailer, which is why I use it in the thumbnail. But this is a fantastic shot. I love this. I can watch this shot on mute as I'm watching right now because, again, I don't want to get copyright striked by using sound. But who knew that for all the complaints that stupid people on Twitter make that the MCU doesn't have color, one of the best shots that they put out there in the Taika Waititi movie of all things is one of the shots with no color. Fuck, man. I love this shot. I fucking love this shot, man. Wow. I love this. This is Gore the God Butcher come to life. And again, now we see, again, Thor with no color, like he's being consumed by this dimension. I'm guessing Gorr is consuming his power, maybe, which is represented through color for us, the audience. It's interesting, but Thor's still full of bravado, telling Gorr to come on. And I don't know what this is, but, ladies and gentlemen, I had not noticed this until now, but right here, on the left of Jane Foster, on next to the arm that she has down, this looks to be a statue of the Living Tribunal and a statue of Kang the Conqueror. It looks like that. I'm not guaranteeing it is that, but it certainly looks like it. I need to stop sharing for a second because I need to take a screenshot. Thank you so much. Holy shit, I just found something. Really interesting. So this looks very much to be the Living Tribunal, which has had cameos now in both Doctor Strange movies. I mean, the first Doctor Strange movie, he is mentioned by Mordo, and in the second one, he is in one of the dimensions that Doctor Strange and America Chavez fall through. And then that looks very much to be like the same statue that is at the end of Loki season 2 of Kang the Conqueror, of He Who Remains. And it's interesting that they chose that. This shot might actually be better for that, because now with the lightning, it definitely looks like them. Again, excuse me for a moment while I stop sharing to take a screenshot, because holy shit. I might have found something really interesting in this trailer, because I have not seen anyone else mentioning this on Twitter. Wow, okay. That's really fucking cool. And I think this moment right here, excuse me, I was so taken aback by seeing those two. Um, I think this moment right here um, is when Jane Foster first gets her powers. I don't know. I don't know if Kang the Conqueror is an indication of how she gets her powers. I don't know if the Living Tribunal is an indication of how she gets her powers. But both are very intriguing prospects as to why she gets her powers. Um, and I don't really know how that comes into the film because, like, I've speculated, and I want to hear what you guys think. That so, the opening of the film is going to be Korg telling the story of Thor, the God of Thunder, around the galaxy as he fights with the Guardians of the Galaxy to save the peoples. Um, and then I think we're going to cut to Gore the God Butcher, establish him. Do we cut to Jane after that? Because it may feel a little bit like the Venom movies, and I don't even want to compare it to that, to the Morbius film, where you're having three starting points at three different places, about three different characters, to then bring it all together. It might feel jarring at first. The film can bounce back from that, obviously, but it just feels like, oh, okay, we're starting over and over. And if I complained about that in Venom and Morbius, I will have to complain about that in Thor Love and Thunder. And so we just have a really funny scene after the title stinger. Didn't expect this accent from Zeus, but I really like I really like what happens here. Which, by the way, his ass is not going to be pixelated in the movie itself. I guarantee you, right now, his ass is not going to be pixelated in the film. I bet money. I will bet money I don't have that we see his bare ass. But I love Thor Korg's shocked face. Um, they are in disguise here for some reason. By the way, Chris Hemsworth, the guy has never seen a day where he's fat. Let's face it. But in this film, we've seen from the very first picture that was shared, like, okay, this motherfucker's in shape. But God, you don't realize how big he is until this shot. And it's not even the front shot, the back shot, even though it's a wide. Look at this back of this man. Jesus Christ. By Odin, the guy has muscles where I didn't know muscles existed. Wow. And I love everyone just fainting because of how good he looks. But now I need to go back a little bit on what I said earlier, because now they're in disguise. This probably is before that big fight. Breaks out with Jane and Valkyrie and Thor fighting off against the Olympians. But at the same time, in that fight, Thor is back in his clothes. Which, how funny would it be if Thor was actually naked in that fight? That would be hilarious, because Thor wouldn't care. That would be really funny. So this is just a really good trailer. And then we have this moment that it's going to be right after, where he jumps at a ship of aliens to slash them down. And I think that's going to be like right in this battle, before it cuts away, before he says goodbye to the Guardians. That's going to be right at the beginning. So that's interesting. But yeah, this was a really good trailer. I really like this. I love the balance of epic and funny and dramatic. I think it's all very refined. Again, wasn't the biggest fan of Ragnarok because it just feels like all these stones were clashing in against one another. Now it feels refined. It feels nuanced. It feels like all of them are in their right place and all of them belongs in this gigantic, epic odyssey through space to stop the killing of gods. But those are my thoughts on the trailer. I want to hear what you guys think. So start throwing your thoughts down in the description. No, don't throw it in the description. You guys can't write in the description. It's my video. So start throwing your thoughts on the live chat and I will bring it up. Let's see if I missed anything. Eric Thorpe Review says, I was more hyped for Multiverse of Madness going into this year, and I absolutely love it. But I can definitely see this movie being even better. I mean, Christian freaking Bale. Eric, let me tell you something, my friend. You guys probably, I hope You saw my most anticipated Marvel projects of 2022. Doctor Strange was my number one overall of movies, of TV. We've seen Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness now. I really like that movie. It's just shy of great for me. I was way more excited for it. Hang on, I can stop sharing now. I was way more excited for it than I ever was for Thor Love and Thunder. At this point, with this second trailer, I'm with you, man. I can see this movie being better. I can see this film being top 10 MCU movies. Let me just see what my top 10 MCU movies is right now, because I might need to reshuffle it as I watch and rewatch movies. I will be rewatching and reviewing all the Thor movies leading up to this. It could very well... Starting in my number 8 is only get great, great, great stuff, because Loki is my number 8 overall MCU thing. I can see it be better than the first Doctor Strange, be better than the first Thor, be better than Age of Ultron. I can see it be better than those, man. I think we're in for a real treat with this film. I could be very wrong, like I was for Ragnarok, because going into Ragnarok, I was very excited. But yeah, I can see this film breaking into that top 10. Because, like you said, Christian Bale, the dude doesn't just go for any project. So yeah. Eric Thorpe Reviews also says, I kind of hope we don't get more Jeff Goldblum in this, but I feel like we would rather have Eitri return from Infinity War. Would make sense with the hammer being repaired. I believe we have a confirmed return for Jeff Goldblum, but I don't think he's going to be in the movie for long. I think we might see him in Sakaar, because remember, where he ended up was all the slaves were free, and now there was a mob waiting for him. So I think we can see him, but I don't think he's going to have a big role in this. I think he's going to have a cameo. It's going to be a joke of some kind, like he's in prison and he's asking Thor for help or something like that. Like, he's not going to take a bulk of the screen time at all whatsoever. Eitri is the same thing. I could see him having a cameo. And what you said, the return, the hammer being repaired. But now we saw that shot of the Living Tribunal and Kang the Conqueror. Like, I don't think it's going to be Eitri, but I have no idea what it's going to be, actually. But that makes me so excited. Like, how does she get the hammer? Tell me. Yeah, so it's... how does she get the hammer? Which, by the way, I think we're going to get that answer before the film, because it's not even been a month since we got the first teaser. The teaser came out on May 9th, I think. Yeah, it came out on May 9th. And now we got a second trailer right after it. We were just talking about, like, I was talking about with James and with Zach Pope and with Tessa and Manda and Leo and Dave Lee. We have a group chat. And we were discussing, like, because Zach told us first, like, oh, there's a Thor trailer dropping on Monday before the official announcement. And I was like, Monday seems early. Because, again, it hasn't even been a month since we got the first teaser. So what the launch of a new trailer tells me today is that we're still getting one more trailer before the film itself. Now, I am not going to watch that trailer, so you're not going to get a live trailer talk from me when that trailer drops. But I think very well we're going to get a third trailer, and I think that trailer can very well drop with Lightyear, which is like 2 weeks before this film. It is the last week of June. It's on June 24th that it drops. I think it's a sweet spot, like 2 weeks of hype for Thor Love and Thunder. And right after Thor Love and Thunder, I go back to Portugal. So that review will be the last review I do here for the summer. And then before coming back here from Portugal, I might have some surprises for the channel and for you guys. So stay tuned. I don't want to jinx my luck. So I don't want to say what just yet. But wish me luck. But that's a conversation for another day. I will announce it when it's time to announce it. But yeah, I think we could see Eitri. Again, either of those, I think it's going to be nothing more than a cameo. So I wouldn't be too worried about Jeff Goldblum if you're not excited to see him. But I also wouldn't be too excited for Eitri if you are excited to see him, because I don't think he's going to take a bulk of, either of them are going to take a bulk of the screen time on this. Dominic Scott, I enjoyed Thor: The Dark World for what it was. It's bottom, I'm assuming you meant to say, but not worst at all. It's not the worst of the MCU for me, but it's not the worst, not by a lot. I would really only put Iron Man 2 below it. And I like Thor: The Dark World more than most. I think there's a lot of things to like in that movie, man. I think the fantasy elements are all on point. The villains, by far the worst in the MCU. I can't deny. Like, I love Christopher Eccleston. I was so excited to see him as a fan of Doctor Who. He was my first Doctor. He was my gateway drug into Doctor Who. So see him coming into the MCU, I was like, hey, fuck yes. And then just completely wasted him. But I like the action there. Again, the fantasy elements I think are very much on point. The lore of Asgard and all that, I think it's very interesting. But it's a very jumbled movie. It's the best way to describe it. But I will fully review it before going into Love and Thunder. Do you think we'll see Eitri? I think there's a chance. How would I go over under? Do we see Eitri at all? I'm comfortable going 30%, Eric. I don't want to go any more than that. I don't think I'm comfortable going any higher than that. But 30% is a good number, I feel. I think 30% is solid to where we may see him in the film. I think it's very possible. It's not the most likely cameo. It's not the most likely return. But I think it's possible. I think it's possible. Eric Thorpe Reviews also says, I'm just so excited for Christian Bale to be returning to comic book movies. Same here, man. Like Jackman is for you, Drew. Bale as Batman is my personal favorite superhero casting of all time. Dude, that's awesome. Bale is my Batman. Like, I adore Pattinson, man. I don't think Bale would be a good version of this Batman. I don't think Pattinson would be a good version of Bale's Batman. But Bale is my Batman. And as you guys know, Batman Begins was the film that I watched, and I was like, that's what I want to do in my life. I want to be a movie director. But yeah, it's so cool to see him. And it's cool to see him not just because he's playing a character in a comic book movie. It's cool to see him because he's very picky with the stuff he chooses. So when he signs on for this, it means something automatically. And then playing Gore the God Butcher. I cannot tell you guys how excited I am for that. I cannot tell you guys how excited I am for you finally to meet Gore the God Butcher. If it is a great version of him, obviously the movie itself can disappoint. I think it's always important to point that out. But as far as this trailer is concerned, like, my boy is coming to life in a great way. So pumped to see him playing a comic book villain. Same here, man. Same here. And what a villain he's playing. What a villain he's playing, man. Great MCU villains are starting to pile up. It's between Thanos, Wanda, Green Goblin, Loki, but Bale might top them all. He could very well top them. I didn't forget Green Goblin. I thought of Green Goblin when I was listing them off, and we got a total of 7 great villains. Again, in 28 MCU movies at this point, and we got 7 great villains. It's not the best track record. I didn't bring up Green Goblin because he's a borrowed villain. He's a great villain in Spider-Man No Way Home. He's one of the things that elevates Spider-Man No Way Home very much. But to me, he's a borrowed villain. If you just isolate Green Goblin in what he has to give in Spider-Man No Way Home, and what he gives to Spider-Man No Way Home, he's really good. I wouldn't say he's quite top tier as Thanos, as Wanda, as Loki are. He'd be just shy of that if you just look at him through the prism of Spider-Man No Way Home. When you take the whole context of him, which is also important, that's what makes him a great villain. It's the whole journey of him as a villain. So I agree that he's up there with them as far as Marvel villains are concerned, but there's a caveat to that, at least the way I see it. That's just my opinion. I just wanted to point out that I didn't forget Green Goblin. I thought of him, but there was something that that I thought best not to include him in the list. So will this be the first Lokulus Thor movie? I fully believe that. Obviously, you can never be 100% sure unless you know, but I am 99.9% sure. And also, I don't want Loki. I think bringing Loki back doesn't hurt as long as you capitalize on the apparent death of him still. So the fact that Loki is alive at this point in the MCU, it doesn't hurt because they're capitalizing on it. Loki knows Thor survived. Loki knows the entire history of what happened after he died, but he can never go to his brother. He can never tell his brother he's safe, he's doing okay, he's good. He can never know what his brother is up to nowadays. And even if you were to know about Gore the God Butcher, he couldn't help his brother. And I think that's what gives meaning to the fact that Loki is alive, but he's in this very isolated existence where he's all alone. For the trickster god, nobody that he ever wanted or loved to play tricks on, he can never do that again. And now he's taking on this journey of self-discovering, on becoming someone else, something bigger, to serve a bigger purpose other than himself. I think that's powerful. And I think Loki, again, he's alive. He knows Thor is alive. He can never go to his brother. They made amends and immediately got separated and cannot bear the fruits of that. Imagine fixing a broken friendship or a broken relationship at all, but that being plucked away from that person, and now you can never know how they're doing. They can never know how you do. I think that's really powerful. And that hurts, but I think that's what's important. Like, you guys know I write myself. To me, one of the rules when I write is your characters have never suffered enough. When you're writing a story, when you're plunging out a story until the end, one of my main rules, or my top 3 rules, is your characters have never suffered enough. And you can send Thor in all these exciting adventures, you can send Loki in all these exciting adventures, but deep down, they're hurting because there's this big separation. And as long as you keep milking that, I know it's a dirty term, but keep milking that hurt, that suffering, keep milking the cost of Loki being alive. So I don't want to see him in this film. I don't want Thor to ever know he is alive. I think it'd be cool if Loki sees Thor but can never interact with him. And that would be really cool. But I don't want to see him in this film. If we do get that moment of, hey, there's Thor, shouldn't be in this film. Maybe in a Loki show in season 2, we get footage of Love and Thunder maybe. And we see, hey, that's my brother. Loki, you can't interfere. You'll ruin the timeline again. And I think that'd be cool. But not in this film. Real James, you see your brother. I hope so, Eric. I don't want Loki to make an appearance in Love and Thunder. Yeah, I'm with you there. I want Peter Dinklage's character from Infinity. I think it'd be cool if he showed up. Again, I don't think it's super likely, but I think it's very possible. Where are we? Eric Thorpe reviews. I mean, he made Thor's hammer. He might be the one to repair it in this film. It's very possible, but I just wonder, where is that location that we see Jane Foster summoning the lightning on, which very much feels like, oh, she just got her powers. I don't know where that location is, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Real James, Gore the God Butcher doesn't look awful to me. I actually love the makeup and design. It's downright creepy at times in the trailer too. I love the design. They kept Gore the God Butcher. You don't want to hide. You don't want to hide Christian Bale away under tons of makeup. You want his expressions. You want what this guy brings to the table. Gore the God Butcher is not defined by not having a nose. He's defined by having very pale skin, being very, very naked, in his body. He's defined by his motivations, by his creepy look, the motivations that define him, that bring him to this breaking point of I'm going to murder all the gods. And I think that's what's important about Gore the God Butcher. And I think Christian Bale is going to do a great job. You get Christian Bale for a reason, because this character, to be brought to life in a great way, in a way that makes sense, in a way that is believable, in a way that is nuanced and dramatic and compelling, you want an actor like Christian Bale. So I'm fully with you there, James. The viewer Drew. Question for everyone. Do you think Christian Bale's performance in this film will top his performance as Batman? It's tough, man. That's one of my favorite performances. It's possible. It's tough, but it's possible. It really depends on how well the character is written, how profoundly he is written, how much he is in the film, because an actor can only give as good a performance as the script allows. And if the script gives us a very underwhelming villain, a very one-note villain, Christian Bale's performance will also most likely be very one-note. So I don't know. It will for sure be a very different performance. That's what I'm banking on. Don't know, Drew. I think it'll be hard to compare because such a different role, but I think it's possible. But Batman might still be my personal favorite, I'm guessing. That's a very fair point of view. Lightyear is June 8th. Oh, do you guys get Lightyear a week before we do, you bastards? Let me see. Cineworld. Lightyear. Okay, hang on. Okay, no, we also get it on June 17th. Thank you for pointing that out, Eric. So, but I still stand by my point. What comes out on June 24th, though? I just talked with someone about that's Elvis. Do you want Thor with Elvis? It wouldn't be bad, but never mind. My point stands about my point stands about you wanted on Lightyear, and then not 2 weeks, but you have 3 weeks of hype. I think we are for sure getting a third Thor trailer. I'm willing to make a bet with anyone who wants to make a bet. I'm willing to make it. We are getting a third Thor trailer around at least with Lightyear, if not with Elvis. But I'm very, very confident we'll get a third trailer. Diminishing Scott, could we see Jane and Thor more adventures after this film? I can answer that question. But should I answer that question? Without going into detail, because there's one, what's the word I want to use? There's one adjustment I would make to your question, Deminician, but all I will say for now, until we watch the movie, is yes. There's something else I could elaborate on, but I'm not going to. All right. Ren, do you cover your eyes in theaters if a trailer plays that you don't want to see? No, I put my headphones on, both of them. Here's the little box of my headphones. I put them both on because I'm usually in the middle, because I usually go with friends. And even on press screenings, I'm usually sitting down with a fellow journalist I know. But in press screenings, they don't really play trailers. It happens, but it's not like a regular thing. It's not like a sure thing. But when I go to theaters on a public screening, I go with friends. And so when a trailer comes on I don't want to see, I just turn this way, do this with my hand, and then have my headphones playing the music or a podcast or something. So yeah, I always have a technique, my friend. I always have it. That's what friends are for. It's to stop you from it's to help you not watch trailers that you don't want to see. That's what friends are for. And that's my advice to you all. Take your friends and use them to avert your eyes from the trailers you don't want to see. That's the Ren Geekness strategy in movie theaters for you today. All right. Let's see. Jico EP is here. What's up, brother? Hang on, let me zoom in. Love and Thunder seems like the Thor movie that people who didn't like Ragnarok were hoping for. A funny cosmic adventure with some emotional depth like the Guardians films. Yes! Exactly that! Yes, brother! Yes, that's what I want. I want exactly this. Cosmic adventure. It is funny, but it is refined. There's a place for comedy, there's a place for drama, but let's not have them overstep one another. Because that was the problem with Ragnarok. Again, let's bring back the example of Jojo Rabbit and the fact that Taika Waititi didn't write Thor Ragnarok. He's now writing this, and we see what the man can do with comedy and drama and balancing it all out in very good ways. He can ridicule and make fun and have fun in insightful, sharp ways, but also bring you down to earth and make you understand the severity, the gravity, the seriousness of a situation. And that's why I really like this trailer. One of the reasons why I really like this trailer. So yeah, I think we're all caught up, and we're already at the 1 hour and 5 mark. So 10 more minutes. What do you say, guys? 10 more minutes till we close this out. So any more questions? Any more thoughts? Any more? Give me your theories for Thor: Love and Thunder. For what you think they were hiding in this trailer. What do you want to see? What do you think we'll see? Anything that you might find interesting. And there's an Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer. Hang on. I think there's a new Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer. While we wait for more questions, I see a question from G-Code PS come in. Let me just check if there's a new Obi-Wan trailer. No. There is not. There is not a new Obi-Wan trailer. All right. G-Code, I wonder who's the next Batman actor to play an MCU villain. First Michael Keaton, now Christian Bale. Could we see Ben Affleck? Who would he play though? No, but we already have that character. I was going way out of left field, but for some reason I really like the idea that popped in my head. Who could we see? Who could we see Ben Affleck playing? That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Damn. Ben Affleck. Robert Pattinson? Who could? Robert Pattinson, a youngish. Because Robert Pattinson is 35, but he has that youngish look. Ooh. It's not a villain, but Robert Pattinson would have been a good Gambit. Villains. Marvel villains. We did Malekith, unfortunately. But I don't want movie villains. God damn it. Oh God. Guys, I'm searching for Marvel villains, and all it sends me to is Marvel movie villains. So I can't search for new villains. I can't get my imagination to kickstart. Do you think Battery Bill is in this movie? Yes, I do. I still believe that. I still stand by my theory that I did for the original trailer. And in the original Thor God of Thunder comic run, there are 3 Thors that defeat Gore the God Butcher. There is an indication in this trailer that they might replace the 3rd Thor with Valkyrie, but I still think there's a chance. And when I say Battery Bill could be in this film, I'm including post-credit scenes in that hypothesis. I include post-credit scenes when I say could Battery Bill be in this film. That includes post-credit scenes. I think he's in the actual movie. Okay, I think he's in the actual movie because there's been a cameo by his face, not so much him, but Battery Bill's face has cameoed already. So yeah. Oh my God, James just had the greatest idea. Didn't Ben Affleck said he was done with IP movies after his time as Batman? Yes, but Christian Bale also said he was done with comic book movies. I don't remember actually Ben Affleck saying he was done with IP movies, but that's just me. Not saying you're wrong. I remember him saying he was done with Batman, with DC, and all that. I think he said superhero movies, but so yeah. Yeah, I think he could come back. Like, it's not likely. I don't think he's going to be seeking out those roles, but the right offer comes his way, the right role, the right amount of money, he'll say yes. Real James, Ben Affleck as one of the actors alongside Matt Damon in the Fake Asgardian stage plays. That is the greatest idea, man. Who would he play though? Because we already have Sam Neill as Fake Odin. We already have Matt Damon as Fake Loki. We already have Luke Hemsworth as Fake Thor. We know Melissa McCarthy is going to be fake. Is she fake Jane Foster? Or is she Hulk? Oh my God! Melissa McCarthy is playing the Hulk. You heard it here first. If she is, you heard it here first. If she isn't, you didn't hear anything from me. That'd be, oh my God, that'd be really fucking funny. Yeah, she was. It wasn't a leak, but like they were shooting on the outside, and someone photographed. She was one of the actors. Was it I don't remember anymore, but I remember like she was there shooting, and she was playing one of the fake actors in the Asgardian plays. And oh my God, if she is or is she Hela? She's probably Hela. Yeah, because now they're probably telling the story of Ragnarok, because the play in Ragnarok was telling the story of the Dark World. Now they're probably yeah, she's playing Hela. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out, GKOVP. God, it'd be much funnier if she was playing the Hulk. And we're just about out, but let's read the final question. Sodium285, hey Ren. Hey Sodium, thank you for being here, brother. Maybe Robert Pattinson could be Dr. Doom. Too youngish for Doom, at least how I see it, because you want Doom to be the same age, or at the very least to look believably the same age as Reed Richards. So let's just assume if we are going to have John Krasinski, you want someone around that age, or at least that looks around that age. My dream casting is still David Tennant for Dr. Doom. I think Cillian Murphy is a great choice. I think Claes Bang is a great choice. Just the guy who played Fjolnir in The Northman. I think he'd make a great Dr. Doom. So yeah, but I mean, if you want to go, if they went younger with the Fantastic Four as a whole, I could see Robert Pattinson as a fit. At the same time, we want Fantastic Four now. And now Robert Pattinson's kind of busy with the Batman. I just don't think he could get like two big roles in two different superhero properties. Because when you bring in Dr. Doom, you don't want Dr. Doom as a one-movie villain. I think there have been great villains that have been one-movie villains. Wenwu was a one-movie villain, and he's one of the best in the MCU. But they're building up to Secret Wars, so we definitely want Doom to stick around. Nikolaj Coster-Waldau is a good choice as well. I wouldn't be mad about it whatsoever. GWP, I might not be able to answer this inquiry, this comment, but I will read it out loud. Based on your answer, if we see more Thor Jay's adventures, the next adventure is to the rap battle with Eminem. We all know Portman can rap. That's true. That's true. She can rap. She can rap very well. She did it twice, remember? The second one didn't have any right to be as good as it was. It's not as good as the first, but the second one was actually quite good. I turned out I could answer it. Mysterio was a great villain in the MCU. I fully agree with you. I don't think anyone, or mostly anyone, shouldn't disagree with you. Fake Gorr. Fake Gorr would be... You want to bring someone British. You want to bring someone British to fake to play Fake Gorr. Do I have any ideas as to who it should be? No, I don't have any better suggestions. My one suggestion is you should bring someone British. I didn't even know about Mccarthy. If you could be in only one franchise, which would MCU? MCU. Love the Avatar, by the way, and love the name Shadow Sonic 666. MCU. You guys know Jico EP, Real James, Eric Thorpe. You guys know, like, if I ever get successful as an actor, you guys know who I want to play. You know what my dream role is. Get J-Lo as Frigga if they get out. But then she'd have to be married with to Sam Neill. If you get Ben Affleck, who has a wife in Asgard? Who has a wife? So yeah. Power Rangers is a good. I'm too old for the Power Rangers at this point because I've come to the point where the Power Rangers are younger than me. Yes, James, it would be. That's like I have 3 dream roles, and I'm probably never going to get either of them. But Nova in the MCU is one of them. Richard Rider, Dick Rider in the MCU. Why did I say that? I should not have said that. I shouldn't have said that. But I think it's the perfect way to end this live stream on. And somebody's gonna cut it out, and they're gonna put it on Twitter, and it's going to happen. I'm going to get famous, and it's because I said this, and someone's gonna cut out the clip. But yeah, Richard Rider in the MCU. That's my dream role. And all right, everyone. Thank you so much for all of you who joined me in this 1 hour 16 at this point, 1 hour 16 live trailer talk about Thor Love and Thunder, the second trailer. Remember, there probably will be a third trailer. I will not watch that trailer, but we got a packed week. I just got confirmation that I'm seeing Jurassic World Dominion at a press screening, so excited for that. I have seen Cha-Cha Real Smooth. I have seen Brian and Charles. I rewatched today Jurassic Park 3. So tomorrow the review for that should drop. And this Friday we got Kenobi. We got 2 episodes of Kenobi dropping this Friday. And there will be a This Week in Geek podcast. Zach won't be there. So I'm still trying to find a co-host if Real James wants to join me. Thank you for being here, brother, by the way. But yeah, thank you all for joining me. Make sure to go watch the Lost World review if you haven't. Support the Jurassic Park reviews as we build up to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And get excited for Thor, everyone, because I think it's going to be awesome. Again, thank you all for being here from Real James, Sodium285, Jico EP, who else? Shadow Sonic 666, Eric Thorpe Reviews, Deminician Scott, everyone and anyone. If you ever wasted time watching one of my videos, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, for your comments, and we'll see you very soon tomorrow with a brand new review. I'll see you there, and until the next one, love each other,